Welcome to Change It Up Radio with Paula Shaw. I am your host, and I'm so glad to be with you this week because it's the beginning of the holiday season, and we have some important things to talk about today. So thank you for being here with me. Those of you who are familiar with this show know that I am an author, the author of 3 books, Chakras, The Magnificent 7, and Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? And Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say. And those last 2 books, tying in with dealing with grief and loss, those are the ones that's the information we're really going to be focusing on today, because it's a very, very tough time of year for people who are dealing with loss, for people who are feeling alienated and alone, and maybe even defective because everyone else looks so happy and looks like everything's hunky-dory. So because they don't feel that, they feel totally out of it. They feel defective. They feel like something's wrong with them, that they can't get on board, so to speak. So I want to really address that today because, as you know, helping people dealing with life transitions is the core of my work. This show, this show, Change It Up Radio, is all about helping people deal with change. My work as a life transitions coach is also about helping people deal with change because we humans need it and it helps us grow, but we really hate the discomfort of the unfamiliar. We don't like adjusting to the new normal, as people call it. And boy, we've had to do a lot of that during this pandemic that seems to be going on and on and on forever. So here we are once again. This is our second holiday season during the COVID pandemic. And I think a lot of people are just burnt out, tapped out, disappointed, wanting more, frustrated. There's a lot going on right now that is causing people to be distraught. And that shows up in a lot of different ways, doesn't it? For some people, that shows up as anger. For some people, it shows up as frustration. For some people, it shows up as fearfulness or anxiety. For others, it's just sadness or depression. So we've got a lot going on, is basically my point here. And I think it's important to talk about it. So since this is my area of expertise, I'm going to just be talking directly to you today. I will not be interviewing a guest on this particular episode of Change It Up Radio. But if you want to hear some of our past guests, and we have had some extraordinary people on this show, you can do that on any major podcast platform or on our website, changeitupradio.com. That's changeitupradio.com. And for information about me and my work as a life transition coach, as a speaker and an author, you can get that information on paulashaw.com. That's paulashaw.com. And while you're there, 2 things I'm offering right now. One is a complimentary consultation. So particularly if you're hearing something in today's show that rings a bell or makes you realize you're grieving during the holiday season here, you're having a tough time, there's a 30-minute complimentary consult that you can sign up for on paulashaw.com. And also, I highly recommend you grab my complimentary cheat sheet if you will, that's called 20 Things to Say and Not to Say to People in Emotional Pain. You definitely want to download this, print it out, and have it at the ready. Keep it in your purse, in your glove box, in your briefcase, because those difficult conversations come up all the time. And just having this in your possession, I really feel, will help you feel better equipped and more confident. And I know for a fact, one of the reasons people don't show up for their friends in need is because they don't feel confident that they know the right things to say. So have this little cheat sheet with you so you can have at the ready some good ideas about things to say and things not to say. Because when we say the wrong thing, we can put the grieving person in the position of feeling defensive or even angry, and that doesn't help them heal. So let's talk a little bit about why particularly is the holiday season a tricky time for people who are hurting. I mean, it has its ups and downs, even for those of us in tip-top shape, doesn't it? And there's a lot that's happening. So let's look at it. Let's dive in here a little bit and uncover what's the trickiness about the holidays. Why are they difficult? So first of all, they're all about joy, aren't they? They're all about joy and fun and partying, hanging out with people you love. I mean, it's all about a good time. And if you're feeling sad, if you're dealing with loss, if your life doesn't seem to be working, if you're terrified about how you're going to pay for the rent, then it's tough to get on board that joy train, isn't it? And so what happens when you're not on board the train? You feel out of it. You feel alienated, left out, alone, isolated. And isolation is not a good place for healing. Isolation tends to proliferate too much self-focus. And one of the things I always say to my clients is, whatever we focus on, we're feeding energy to. And whatever we feed energy to is going to grow. So while we do need to take time to be introspective, while we do need to process our pain and our sadness and our grief, too much self-focus can start growing the negative feelings, the negative perceptions. And that isn't good for us in the long run. We need to remember that there's hope. We need to be reminded that there's light at the end of the tunnel and that we won't always feel as badly as we do right now. So there's a balance that we need between being with others and being alone. And the trickiness about the holidays is we can pretty much be with others every day because there's so much going on. There's the parties and the shopping and the wrapping and the cooking and the connecting and the phone calls and the Zoom calls. You know, we've got so much going on. And one of the things that I always talk about is that grief is really an energy drain. So when we are grieving, we're coming from this lowered energy place, and now we're taking that lowered energy into the world to all these events and things we have to do, and that can end up really depleting us and exhausting us. So this so much to do thing can really lead to overwhelm and exhaustion. And neither of those are very good for people who are trying to heal from emotional pain. So this keeping up with all the activities of the holidays, this trying too often put on a happy face when we don't feel that. It all leads to draining energy, and we're already dealing with a lowered energy supply. So what do we do to try to shift that energy? What do we do to make more energy even, right? To feel a little better, to have more energy and more stamina? Well, one of the things that really helps actually is being authentic. So even though we feel like, well, I'm all bummed out, I don't want to be a buzzkill, I won't bring up how I'm actually feeling or what's going on in my life. I don't want to ruin the party. But the truth is, you need to talk honestly about what you're feeling. This authentic look at what's going on with you is really important to healing. So what I would say to you is take that time to be introspective, look inside, and then share what you discover with someone you can trust. Whether that's a professional like myself, or whether it's a best friend or a family member that you can really open up to and that you feel safe with. Process what you discover in there, because we don't want to just keep it stuck inside. We want to move it up and through. Emotion, energy in motion. And the best thing to do with emotion is move it up and out, because when it gets stuck, it starts wreaking havoc with our physical bodies, and too often that does not go well. So be authentic, get what's going on with you. Don't keep demanding yourself to perform as you would if everything in life was just cooking and working just fine. It's not. I often say to grieving people, going through a serious loss is like being hit by a Mack truck. And if you got hit by a Mack truck and you were in a body cast, you wouldn't be expecting too much of yourself. Well, you have been hit by an emotional Mack truck, and you're in an emotional body cast, so you still need to take it easy. You still need to nurture yourself. You still need to allow yourself to say no, to not participate in everything, to pick and choose wisely that which will feed you and that which will drain you. And we don't want too much draining, because the holidays, even when we're in tip-top shape, they can be pretty overwhelming and pretty exhausting. We all have way too much to do, and it doesn't stop, right? And if we don't learn to say no, the invitations will keep coming. The opportunities to be doing will always be there. And at some point, it's really important to acknowledge that this year, and remember, it's this year. This is not forever, even though it may feel like it's forever. But this year, maybe you cannot do everything you usually do. This may be the year to consider doing less or doing things differently. Let's take a look at some of the things that we do during the holidays that we can maybe do differently. So let's start with the pre-holiday stuff, the cards. So maybe this year, instead of signing 200 cards and putting them in envelopes and stamping them and mailing them, maybe you do a little holiday letter, a brief holiday email letter. You create it, you hit send, and the job is done. I have to tell you, years ago, I used to stay up after the children had gone to bed and all the other busyness was done. I would stay up sometimes till 2 or 3 in the morning writing out the holiday cards, because I never wanted to just put love, Paula, It was just like, why bother to do this if you don't say something? So I would write a little special note to everybody. And the next day I'd be exhausted all day long. And usually the job was waiting to have more work be done on it that night. It was never like a one-day thing. And one year I just realized I can't do it. I just don't have the energy. And I allowed myself that break. And I did not send out holiday cards. And guess what? The world kept on going. People still called. People still loved me. And I had a much better holiday season because I didn't make myself do that task. And you know what? I have not sent out holiday cards since. And that was many years ago. Now, do I get as many cards? No, because they drop you from the list. If you don't come across, they're not going to come across for you. But it's okay. I'm all right with that. I'm really okay with that because it's just been transformative for me in terms of letting myself off the hook a little bit and not having to do so much. So, at this point, we're going to take a brief break and we will come right back with a look at some more things that we can do differently or less of or better. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio. We're looking at the holidays and how to handle them if you're somebody who's dealing with loss, sadness, emotional pain of any sort. So we were just discussing cutting back, not doing everything the way you've always done it or even doing it at all. So let's look at decorating. Oh my goodness. Yesterday I was in a home that I was calling the Christmas house by the time I left. It was decorated to the nines, every inch. Even the bathroom had holiday towels, and it was lovely. It was lovely to be there. It was lovely to feel all that. But I also realized, boy, there were hours of work that went into creating that Christmas house. And when you're in the mood, when life feels good and the holidays feel good, that can be a joyful thing to do, especially if you're doing it with your family. There have been many years that I have been the Christmas elf and had my house decorated to the nines and been totally delighted in doing it because I had children, I had family, I had maybe friends coming for a holiday gathering, and so it was fabulous. But if you're alone or you're hurting or your health is not what you would like it to be, or you've just suffered a breakup in a relationship, a loss of someone you love, putting all that time into decorating can just feel exhausting, can just feel like another thing you have to do. So don't do it on that same level. Find something different rather than the big tree that you're going to spend hours decorating. Maybe I did this one year. It was a small tree on a table, and I decorated it, and it was fine. It didn't take me hours because it was a small tree. And there wasn't all the difficulty of putting it in the stand and getting it strung with lights and all that there is to do when you're dealing with a large tree. So if a tree is part of your celebration traditions, maybe go small this year. Maybe just cut back on the decos. Maybe not quite as many lights. Maybe instead of opening all 5 trunks that you have out there in your garage filled with Christmas things, you only open 2. And you put those things out. And you keep it simple. Because remember, on the other side of the holidays is the takedown. And that can be really exhausting too. So I am giving you official permission to take it easy and do it differently. Maybe the shopping, which we all know can be so exhausting, maybe it's done online this year. Or maybe you just hit one good-sized store like Target or Walmart or even Home Depot, and they have a wall of gift cards. Get a gift card for everybody you love. Boom! Half an hour, you're done. No wrapping. All you got to do is slide it in the envelope with a little card. So there's a way out of shopping. And if you order online, Amazon does the whole thing for you. All you have to do is open the front door. That's a real bonus, isn't it? Maybe the holiday dinner becomes one you pick up at your favorite grocery store or food location. Or maybe you go out this year. So you're getting the cut of my jib here, I think. You're getting my drift. I'm saying don't be locked into having to do the same thing you've always done before. You can do it differently this year. You can do it in a new way that may be so much easier for you to deal with. So much easier for you to not have to expend all the energy doing it the way you've done it before. And maybe like me, once you make that shift, you'll never go back. My Christmases are much simpler now than they used to be. So let's look also at what do you need when you are going through a tough time, especially during the holidays. What do you need from others? And what do you need to be able to do to take good care of yourself? Because the bottom line is ease up, right? Ease up on yourself. Ease up on the to-dos. Ease up. And part of that is loving yourself and nurturing yourself and allowing yourself a little more ease. And part of what I think is really important is being clear enough about that you can tell it to others. And this is what that looks like. Somebody invites you to yet another holiday party, and you're not feeling jolly and bright. So you say, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm feeling like I just need a little bit of quiet time tonight or that weekend. I need to just nurture myself and conserve my energy because life's a little bit wearing right now, or it's pulling on my energy. Say it any way you want to that's real for you, but say no. Don't show up. Don't feel that you have to go to that event because you don't have to go to every event. I know sometimes we so worry about what it's going to look like if we don't show, but I guarantee you, people will notice that you're not there and they'll talk about it and think about it for maybe a fast 5 minutes, and then they're moving on. They're going to enjoy their evening. So do what you need to do for you. And love yourself for doing it. Ease and grace. Ease and grace, as my friend Ellen always says. Just handle it with ease and grace. So other things that I think are kind of important at this time of the year, if you are the person who's hurting, if you are the person who is dealing with this lowered energy and feeling kind of overwhelmed and going through the ups and downs of hurting, sadness and anxiety and I don't know, maybe fear one day, all kinds of things come up when one is grieving. If you're that person, feel comfortable telling people what you need and what you don't need. You know, if they're constantly asking you to take part in activities, you might say, you know what? I'm really not feeling the energy for that. But if you want to just hang out and watch a movie, you know, and order something to eat, that sounds good. Take care of yourself. But don't expect that others are magically going to know what you need. You tell them. You be able to say it. You orchestrate giving to yourself what you really need. Now, if you're somebody trying to support and comfort someone who's hurting at this time of year, the rules are pretty simple. And, you know, in my book, Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say, I outlined 5 steps for creating successful, comforting, supportive conversations. And so let me just go through those steps briefly to remind you of the kinds of things that are important and helpful. So the first one is set the right intention. Set the right intention for going into this experience, whether it's a conversation or spending some time with a person who's hurting, whatever it is. Set the intention to just be supportive and comforting and helpful. Then, step 2, be present. When you're there, just be there. Don't be thinking about everything else you have to do. Don't be going through the to-do list for tomorrow. Don't be worrying about the presents you haven't wrapped. Just be there. Because when we are actually present with another human being, with our full attention focused on them, there's an energy we create that is supportive, that is helpful, that is healing. So it's very important that you're just present, that you're coming from that right energy. And then have the mindset, not of shifting them, of cheering them up, of changing the way they're behaving. Just have the mindset of being of service, being comforting and supporting in whatever way that person needs. That's huge, because where we're coming from, we project energetically. And that person, particularly a hurting person, because they're very sensitive when they're hurting, that person will pick up on what you're projecting. So if you're protecting, I just want to help. If you're projecting, I'm here for you. That's going to make all the difference in the world to this person that you want to support. Don't judge, don't teach, don't preach, just comfort and support. And accept them the way they are. Don't feel like you need to shift them. You need to show them the way, show them the light so they can feel better. Just accept where they are and comfort them where they are. This next step, step 4, is the most important one. And that step is listen. Truly listen to the words they're saying. Don't be worrying about what you say or thinking about the next thing you're going to say. Just listen to what they say. Because some magic happens when you're actually listening. There's an energy of safety and support that comes from you when you're actually listening. And you also get out of your head and out of your ego, and you will know the right response when you are totally listening and tuned in to that other human being. Sometimes we don't go into those conversations because we're worried that we don't know the right thing to say. But trust me, if you listen, you will know the right thing to say. And sometimes that right thing is, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. I just can't imagine how hard this is for you. You don't have to be a sage. You don't have to have some amazing life-changing advice for this person. All you have to do is listen. And then step 5, when it is your turn to respond, and that should be infrequently, because the whole idea to help someone heal is to listen to them. But when it is your turn to respond, keep your response brief and come from the heart, not the head. A person in emotional pain does not need intellectual information. This is not like a puzzle they're trying to solve. Intellect is not what's important when we're hurting. Humanity is. Heart is. Come from your heart. Respond as a person, as another human who gets it, who sees their pain. And if you do that, you will say something helpful and healing. You will. And just remember, when someone is hurting emotionally, they need your humanity, not your database. So those are the 5 things that can really help you have a supportive communication with someone who's hurting. Set the right intention, be present, have a mindset of just comforting and supporting, not changing, judging, teaching, showing them the light. Listen, and then when it is your turn to speak, come from the heart and not the head. So, what I want to suggest to all of you in summary here today is, as you go about your day, as you go to the holiday events that are coming up for all of you, someone you're going to encounter is going to be hurting. There may be many someones who are hurting, because we've all dealt with a lot of loss during this last couple of years dealing with this pandemic. Someone's going to be hurting, so keep your eyes open. Be aware. And if you spot that pain, if you spot someone that is hurting, don't be afraid to go there. Don't be afraid to say, "Are you okay? I feel like something's not quite right," or "Is there any way I can help? Tell me what's going on." These are some helpful things to say. How are you coping? How are you dealing with things? Do you need anything? Can I come and watch a movie with you or bring you something for your dinner? These are all helpful things to say. It's not helpful to remind people that life goes on, that they won't always feel like this, that, they should just keep busy or be strong. Don't go there. We've all had those things said to us, and it didn't help. Just stay with your humanity. Stay in your heart. Think about what you would like if you were the one that's hurting. What do you need? What would feel good? And sometimes it isn't words at all. It's just a hug. It's a deed. It's just love. So in this season of love and joy, let's remember to bring our love and our joy to everyone we encounter, and to give them whatever we can give them to help make their day a little brighter. And sometimes that's just human understanding of all the things that are going on that are hurting them during this holiday season. All right. I do wish all of you beautiful, happy holidays. I am so happy to be the host of Change It Up Radio and to get to bring information to all of you that helps you deal with change. So happy holidays. You know you can hear us on every major podcast platform, including Podopolo, a new one that's really cool, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. Also, remember, on changeitupradio.com, you can hear past shows. You can get information about being a guest or a sponsor on the show. And most importantly, if anything you've heard today feels helpful, feels like information others should know, please share this show. Please share it. And like us and subscribe. You guys know the drill. So happy holidays, and I look forward to seeing you next week with another Change It Up Radio. Bye-bye.